Okay, Thomas Smedley here with T's Doghouse, in the doghouse once again. Thanks for joining us. Today is day one with this dog. Her name's Chelsea. Though Chelsea, I'm not sure she knows that that's her name. She's a 1.5 year old English pointer. We just got her here. Her previous owners did spend time with her. She's had some good socialization as far as she's not concerned about humans. That's kind of it. I think she's had some introduction to bird hunting, has a lot of desire to find birds and is showing some point towards birds. This is the first day I've worked with her, but we're going to record, a series of videos showing her progress and what I do when I first work with the dog. So she's, like I said, she spent time in a backyard with the family. No bad experiences that I'm aware of with the family. It was a good family that had her before we did. Take good care of their animals. But that would be it. Just some social time in the backyard. Most of her time living in a kennel outside. So that's what we're starting with, and I'll show you my first approach. My view on this is that she doesn't have any reason to look to me for anything. She doesn't really act like she knows I exist a lot. You can obviously see she'd like to just go exploring. If she was turned loose, I'm sure we would have a hard time catching her. So I'll just show you where I'd start. First thing I want to do is I want to build a line of communication. Dogs' number one way of communicating is through body language. But it's going to be hard to teach her body language if I can't communicate with her in any other way. Our number one way to communicate is verbally, but I obviously can't teach her anything by just sitting down and talking to her, because she doesn't know what any of our words mean. So I'm going to use the leash. That's a form of touch, our third way of communicating, and we of course want to build all three of those lines of communication: the verbal, the body language, and the touch. But right now, the thing I have at my use is a leash. So I want to teach her how to respond properly to that leash. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to start an obstacle course. And I began by just walking through the obstacle course with very little regard for the dog, though the dog is attached to me. I'm using a lead that I really like to use. It's just a piece of rope with a snap on one end and knot on the other end. It's about 6 feet long. I'm going to be handling from the knot, giving her about 6 feet of slack to be able to communicate through. So we'll get started. Notice I'm paying very little attention to her, but she's paying very little attention to me as well. And I'm just going to keep walking and watching for her to start to pay attention to where I'm going. Soon she's going to start to realize that my movement is definitely affecting her and her movement. By changing direction a lot, I avoid her being able to just lean into the leash and pull. That's where they can just become the leader and just pull us around. We see it all the time walking down the road, dogs that just hang out on the end of their lead and lean into it and just pull people. Definitely a sign that they're not looking to the human for any kind of leadership or guidance. I really like that move right there. She went around the table and quickly turned with me because she was realizing kind of the pattern that I was taking there. I am already noticing that the duration of time and the effort that she's putting leaning into the lead, leaning against that collar, is decreasing. It's becoming much easier to steer her around here. haven't spent any time feeding treats or developing positive markers. So once I get her kind of thinking about me a little bit, I'll spend some time today seeing if she'll take a treat and how much she likes the treat, and also seeing if I can build some positive markers so that I can start to communicate verbally with her when she's doing the things that I would like her to do. Did you see right there? With very light pressure, she turned and looked back towards me because she's realizing that that's going to give her some indication as to where we're going next. I saw it again right there. Right there again. So she's already starting to learn to, instead of leaning into and leaning forward into that lead, she's already starting to realize that she can follow that pressure. And by turning towards the pressure and towards me, always, she's able to relieve that pressure on her neck. So as I talk about in my classes, and I've talked about in previous videos, we have two pressures, just like a magnet, positive pressures and negative pressures. This isn't something we've designed, it's just in the world all around us. It's true for every living, breathing creature. All their decisions are made in reaction to those two pressures. Either a positive pressure, which is a desire to gain something, or a negative pressure, which is the desire to avoid something. Just like a magnet, positive drawing you to it, negative drawing you away from it. So we just had a cat enter here, my daughter's kitten, so we'll see her reaction. She's definitely noticed it. The cat has no fear of dogs. I guess that's because it's around them all day, every day, but. But again, I'm ignoring the cat. The cat doesn't have any relevance to me because it doesn't dictate where I'm going. So soon she'll realize that it's not anything of importance either. Very good. Often we allow whatever the dog's attention is on to draw our attention to the same thing, which immediately gives leadership to the dog, and that's how we create a lot of the problems, is we let the dog make a big deal of something and we turn our focus to it instead of helping the dog realize that that's not what we're worried about today. Okay, so I'm pretty pleased with this first day. We'll do some videos to show other days as we progress, and as she learns to manage the pressures on this lead. I started talking for a minute about the positive, negative pressures before the cat walked in. And the reason is because I want to definitely identify that the lead, that's a negative pressure, right? When she feels that on her neck, that's not something she wants to have, though we believe that with as hard as some of our pets pull. But she wants to move away from that. She wants to turn that pressure off. And that's the thing I was pleased with today for my first time in the obstacle course, is that she was starting to find a way to have that pressure be turned off or to loosen the lead. And you can see that now. She's watching that cat, but when I bring her around here, when we started out, she was just out on the end of that lead pulling. And now she's starting to realize that within the length of this lead is where there's a space where there isn't the pulling and the pressure on her neck. She's going to learn to look for that, because she's going to like that much better than having that pulled tight on her neck. The only reason a dog makes that choice is because they don't know there's another way. So they think to get to where they're going, they have to endure that pressure on their neck, and so they just lean into it and pull. But it's pretty easy to get them to start to realize that it might be a little bit easier to do things if they weren't doing that. So there's day one in the obstacle course with Chelsea, and we'll keep shooting video and you can see how we progress along. Again, I'm going to spend some time not on camera because it just is a long, boring time, but spend some time petting her and speaking to her, using the word good and yes a lot to help her think that that's a very positive word to hear. I'm also going to work on seeing if she'll take treats out of my hand, which, you know, some of these bird dogs, I run into quite a few of them that they don't have a lot of interest in a treat because they're a lot more concerned with finding something to chase or to point, something to do, an activity. So we have to work a lot on praise and building those positive reinforcing words while we're petting on them and loving on them so that they realize that that's a positive thing. Anyway, we'll explain more as we go along, so thanks for joining me. And remember to find us on Facebook, on Instagram, and on YouTube, like T's Doghouse in those areas, and follow so that you can get notifications of new videos and be able to watch Chelsea's progress as we keep working with her. Thank you very much for joining me. That might be all right, huh? Here. Chelsea, 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 Chelsea. 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 Here. Chelsea. 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 Chelsea.